What's up, guys? Straight from the chest. My name is Justin Groth, and I want to welcome you to the channel, guys. This is a personal development podcast geared towards igniting the dormant flame that lies within you. That's my mission. That's my thesis. I'm sticking to it. And guys, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you gain some type of knowledge you can take with you, and this message either helps you in a way that you can use, it can be useful in your life, or you can apply some of these principles that I like to lay out, and hopefully it'll serve you in that regard. And if you've been listening to me for any length of time, I'm very, very thankful for you. You already know that. Guys, if it weren't for you, and I say this often, there wouldn't be a reason to do this. This is the only reason why I do this. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that. There's a therapeutic element to it for me, but all in all, it's to serve you guys, and it's to serve hopefully one person. Even if a million people hear this, if it just serves one person, I'm doing my job. That's what I feel. Guys, I think that we get caught up in a lot of frivolous activity in our lives that really drain us of our energy, and they drain us of really purposeful components that we could otherwise extend towards other avenues that would serve us. So like when I talk about doing this podcast, and I hope it serves you, well, and I said there's a therapeutic element to it. Well, that's true. And so that serves me as well. I couldn't just do this and I couldn't just get on this podcast and speak to you Wednesday and Sunday and be religious about it and it not serve me in the process. It has to serve me. Everything we do has to serve each other at the same time. But it also serves me to know that it might serve one person. And that's very important to me. If you do anything, just do it for one person. It doesn't have to be for the masses. It can be for one person, because you never know. You might change one person's life. And if you change one person's life, that in and of itself is a life worth living on your end, because there are some people on this planet that go their entire life, their entire existence, and they never change one person's life. Those words are never spoken to them. And that's super paramount. If you ever hear those words, don't take them lightly. So that's the reason why, that's part of the impetus behind this podcast. And I hope it's part of the impetus behind why you do anything you do. And sometimes you're doing things, you may be caught up in your business. You may be caught up in a certain, let's say a project, and you feel like you're getting beaten down literally daily, and you feel like nothing you're doing is working. You feel like everything you're doing is failing. But there's something viscerally that's attacking you, that's causing you to continuously bleed for the thing that you love, and the thing that you're doing currently. Hopefully those things are in tandem. Hopefully you love the thing that you're bleeding for. And if you're not loving the thing that you're bleeding for, stop. Just stop. Because if there's anything worth doing in life, it's going to cause you to bleed. And I've spoken about that very, very extensively on this podcast. But it's because it's a part of the root of who we are and how we build our legacy. If you're not bleeding for something that you believe in, stop bleeding and move towards the thing that you believe for. You move towards the thing that you believe extensively in, that you're willing to bleed for. I guess that's what I'm trying to portray or convey. Please bleed for the thing that you believe in. If you're not believing in what you're doing, stop it and do the thing that you're believing in, or that you believe in otherwise. And that could be a lot of different things. But there's one thing about you I know right now that wants to do something, and it's paramount to your existence, although it looks very small time right now. And that's only because you can't conceive it on your own. It's going to take the work of you and God in tandem to make this dream happen. And I don't think many of you conceptualize that and understand that to its full degree. But along the way, you're kind of like a tumbleweed. You're going to travel down a road and you're going to start small. You're going to start small and frail, like a little tumbleweed. But then along the road, you're going to gather debris, and you're going to gather other weeds, and it's going to culminate into this bigger thing, and it's going to cause you to become a bigger tumbleweed. But in the process, you're going to become more resilient to the outside forces, and you're going to be able to direct your path a little bit better, because you're not just a small, frail little thing traveling and letting the wind take control of it. I mean, you're still going to be able, you're still not going to have total control. You're a tumbleweed. But as long as you're on the path, and as long as you're collecting along the way, the more you collect, the more you're going to become. And that's not to say that you're not going to collect things that you don't want to collect, because there are going to be times you collect things that you hate. And there are going to be times you collect things that you despise. But they're going to be able to be an ammunition, so to speak, in your future. And it's going to cause you to become more resilient and more perseverant and develop more grit, so to speak. But you need those core elements. You can't get those things taught. You have to go through shit in order to accumulate those things. And that's not a bad thing. Stop thinking that's a bad thing. Stop thinking that where you're at right now, just because it's not the thing that or not the level that you want to be at, stop discounting that level. Don't ever discount the level that you're at right now. You've started, and God's promised to bring it to fruition. So keep going. You know, oftentimes you'll hear people say, keep going, man, keep going. And really the reality of it is, everything you're doing, you probably could gather every excuse not to do it, not to keep going. Because you in the natural self, in the natural realm, you can't see how this is going to manifest. It's impossible for you, but it's not impossible for Him. It's not impossible for God. And guess what? It never was. You're putting limitations on Him. You're putting limitations on what you can do, because it's only what you can do. But what you don't understand and what you're not paying homage to is what He can do. So everything that you can gather so many excuses around you that can say to you, look, stop, give up. It's not going to happen, man. You're right. And if you don't have the audacity in what you believe to bring it to fruition and extract it, if you don't believe that much in the thing that you're bleeding for, then you're right. You're going to give up easy within a year, 2 years. And let me tell you, on the grand scale, a year, 2 years for it not to happen, that's nothing. Try going 10 or 15 years. And if you still haven't seen anything happen in 10 or 15 years, yeah, maybe you could gather the argument that maybe I should do something different. But even then, some entrepreneurs, some CEOs will tell you it took them 20 years to gather what they gather now. And 287 times the saying of being taught said no, and that's not going to work, and that's not going to come to fruition. You can't let the other people dictate your future. You have to believe in yourself, and that's so unoriginal, I understand. But here's the thing. Believing is not everything. You have to bleed for the thing that you believe for. And some of you aren't willing to fucking bleed. Some of you aren't willing to keep going through the sleepless nights. Some of you aren't willing to keep the routine going even though you can't see anything coming to fruition. Some of you can't keep that going. And for those of you, yes, you don't deserve what's going to come to you, because everything that's going to come to you is only going to come by way of you being perseverant and gathering shit along the way like a tumbleweed. You're just like a tumbleweed. You're no better. But don't discount the tumbleweed. The tumbleweed is very, very resilient. And it's big. And it didn't just formulate that way from conception. It had to start small and frail and like nothing. But along the way, it gets big and it gets tough. That's you. You could gather everything to say, look, man, I'm not going to keep going. It's not worth it. Or you can adopt the principle of no negotiation, and I won't settle, and I'm going to keep going no matter if I die trying. Be like the tumbleweed and have no other direction but where God's taking you and what He's attaching to you along the way. And you'll be all right. Done.